Okay, so we're asking dumb SEO questions each week. We answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+. With us tonight, we have Alistair Lattimore. Alistair is head of search at the What If group of companies. He looks after websites with annual revenues of more than $1 billion. I never get used to saying that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot of money. And they got you on 10%, Alistair?
Yeah, of course. Commission based, absolutely. It's just a really, really, really small percentage.
Okay. Archie Watt is a Google top contributor on the web search and Google Webmaster Forum. That's right, Archie? Yep, cool. And Edwin Yonk is CEO of ideshost.nl, a web hosting firm in the Netherlands. Masataki Wasa is a Google top contributor on AdSense and the Google Plus Help community. He also runs a website in the UK, wasaweb.net. And SEO manager for Zazzle.com is Micah Fisher-Kirshner. He also blogs as the Data Marketeer. Micah is joining us from the USA today. Our first question is from Sudhir Mantina. Asks why link shorteners hurt the, or do link shorteners hurt the user experience and destroy the web? He said, I came across this strong argument against the use of link shorteners. It seems convincing, but I have a question. I hope someone here could answer it. He said, I do see that all the likes and plus ones for a short link now pass to the long URL, but does it also pass the entire SEO value as well?
So a 301 generally won't pass the full entire value. Say it passes pretty much at almost all, but every redirect that you do have does reduce the value of the link that's going through. So there's the direct SEO value that does get slightly lessened by using that. That's at least on the pure SEO side. The flip side with using URL shorteners is just people have to you're basically, if people are looking at the link, you're asking them to trust where the link is going, more so than what's more standard for people when they're looking at a URL. So that's kind of the slight downside. My general view is unless you are in an area that has a limited kind of amount of character space, you really shouldn't be using a URL shortener. So, but that's me.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right, Sudhir, I hope that answers your question for you. Next, we have one from Andrew Karanja. He wants to know, which URL do I submit in Webmaster Tools for crawling? He said, I've done a permanent redirect of www.agiliant.com to www.agiliant.agilegrouplimited.com, which is a Google site. But I still prefer www.agiliant.com to show up in the search results. Which URL do I submit? See, he needs more than just his actual question, doesn't he?
Well, if there's a permanent redirect from one domain to the other, then Google will follow that redirect and index the site that it points to. So if you've got a redirect in place, there's not really a way to show that domain if it's redirecting to another one. I don't know if it's possible for him to set up Agillion.com with the Google site as opposed to the new domain. That would enable them to keep that domain in search results. But if you're redirecting, then Google will follow that.
Yeah, the thing is if he's trying to do like an XML sitemap submission, he doesn't. Yeah, the thing with that is you need to more or less be submitting the resolved URLs to Google. Well, more so particularly for Bing. They don't want to be following. Generally, they don't want to be following a lot of redirects within an XML sitemap. So that's yeah. There's that side, but even the more kind of as Archie's noting with this, it's like you're basically telling search engines go to the new website but show the old domain. You can't have it both ways of sending people, like you can't have people go to one and the robots go to the other in this type of situation. Basically, you're telling robots that, and people, that everybody should be going to the Agile Group Limited. If you don't want that, you shouldn't be sending permanent redirects over to the new version.
Right. Anybody else on this one? Cool. Okay. Have one now for the assistance of Micah Fisher-Kirshner. I think I know that bloke. He wants to know, should one use rel-pagination for large HTML sitemaps?
Can't see why not. If Google, so you've got, I know the scenario, I suppose. So you've got a very, very large HTML sitemap, and you want to put in rel-prev next pagination meta tags, yeah? And should you? It's not going to hurt. It's just a paginated set. I think the reality is you're not going to get any benefit out of it because the likelihood of Google ever returning a paginated sitemap URL in the SERPs would surely be quite low. It's just a big list of links to like a crawl path for your site. So there's not a lot of good juicy content on there for Google to return other than a bunch of links for them to spider across. So, and I can't think that users would link to those pages. For you to have a practical benefit for the rel-prev next. The benefit of the tag was that where ordinarily, say, the index of a paginated set or page 1 might get most of the links, and then pages 2 through 50 get virtually no links. All of the 2 through 50 can't rank, basically, because they've got no links. Or the rel-prev next, was it meant to share the equity of all URLs in the set across all URLs. So in essence, they've all got equal opportunity to rank, so to speak. But since your HTML sitemap isn't really going to get linked to from third parties, the only equity that you're sharing across those URLs is the equity of your own website. Is that right?
Yeah, although one of the thoughts I had with this was whether or not as well then by having that in the group, if there's a certain point where Google stops crawling through a set of say paginated pages. Is that paginated pages? Okay. And so would kind of doing a merger of that with rel pagination actually help to get Google to more likely see those sets? that are further down in page 5,000 or something. So it's just kind of one of those things of like, what, just.
Look, I don't think you're going to get disadvantaged by it.
I'm not worried about too much the disadvantage, getting it to be not very helpful. It's just more of, will it do anything, like, will it actually help to provide, say, them to crawl it a little bit more so they can find more kind of stuff in the sitemap.
Yeah, right. I mean, think of it this way. Putting it in there, I can see no reason that you're going to get any negative effect. There might be some possible upside. I don't know of it, but like you said, it's speculation that maybe it will help Googlebot crawl deeper because it's part of a set, and the set rel-prev next tags might suggest to Google maybe I should crawl a few extra pages potentially. You're certainly not going to get penalized for having it, so I would add it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's just figuring out how the heck do you test something like that. Although it's easy to see, wow, let's put it in quotes, but it would be easy to see at least if they start crawling more of them. So.
Do you know how far into your paginated sets on average Google crawls now?
Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, okay.
I must say, I take your point. These days, there's not much chance. But once, when ShopSafe had a huge number of products, I set up a HTML sitemap with one page per merchant. And then a page down from that for each merchant's products in each category, like the categories were on the merchant's page, and then down from the categories were just the listings of the actual product links, and so it was huge. And I never intended and didn't ever expect them to be indexed, but they suddenly appeared everywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
it is interesting to see how willing Google's, well, historically, their willingness to crawl into a site. I set up a site years ago with a bunch of mates, and we did a rookie mistake of allowing, for testing purposes, we allowed our test version of the site to be public. We didn't tell anyone about it. We didn't put it in Webmaster tools. We don't really know how Google found it, but they did. Maybe there was a link somewhere else on the internet to this domain. But they ended up crawling something like 6 million pages on this domain, and it had, to the best of our knowledge, virtually no links to it. And Googlebot was just going mad because we had essentially, infinite facets for them to crawl through. And they were just happy to keep going. So yeah, oops.
Okay. Here's one from Peter Vanderer. It's more of a philosophical question, or maybe intended to be humorous, but I think it deserves a serious answer because it's well, I think it's worthwhile discussing. He says, can Matt Cutts actually be honest on SEO, or does he overly downplay some things because of professional interests?
I think you often hear him downplay stuff because people love to dive deep and forget to go higher level. Even the Webmaster tool video that just came out today on whether the first or second link counts. His whole point is stop. Make sure you're working on a lot of other stuff first. And he's thinking generally from smaller to medium-sized websites than he is for, say, kind of niche cases, large, like extremely massive websites. And so I think you'll see kind of part of that of why he's providing answers the way that he does. And then there's of course kind of the concept that he's noted, at least in the past, that some things he can't provide answers to because if they were provided, people would exploit it and thus make some of their algorithms that they put into kind of for testing or for real life impact would not be as effective as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he genuinely tries to answer questions, and in a useful way that an average person can understand. The thing that I think most people in our sphere get all bent out of shape on is they think that Matt Cutts is here to answer advanced SEO questions. He's not here to do that. That's our job, to learn and work out ways to, bend Google to get an outcome where needed, right? His job with those videos is take questions and answer them in a way that's easy to understand for an average run-of-the-mill website owner, not necessarily an advanced SEO practitioner, and I think that the simplicity that he seeks to deliver in his message often is confused with him being evasive in his answers, and I don't think that's the case. I think he's genuinely trying to help, but he's trying to convey that message in as a practical and simple manner as he can. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Cool. All right, Peter Vandiver, I hope that's the answer you're looking for. Lucas Regala from Poland, one of our favourite people, asked, is it true that once you are hit by penguin, you will need to wait until it is run again to recover?
Yeah, I mean that's I haven't directly been haven't been hit, but that's what I generally as well hear. I mean, it's a separate algorithm. So people have tried to test within kind of Webmaster tools and put everything into a disavow file to see if this algorithm will help them outside of when it rolls out. But for the most part, as far as most people have talked about, if they are hit by penguin, you got to wait till the next one comes back around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. You can go about doing all of the cleanup after you get hit and do an absolutely outstanding job of it. Google could crawl all of the changes you've made to your link profile over the next 4 or 6 weeks, where under normal circumstances, if you weren't hit by penguin, if you were pulling links down, you would logically see your rankings fall because you've got less links pointing to your site and so forth. You could go through that entire process post-penalty, doing an outstanding job of cleanup, and not have your site bounce back until Google next runs the penguin offline process, which happens at this rate every 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah. And this is, you think about it, this is not necessarily, or at least originally wasn't set to penguin. You had Panda was like this before, and in a lot of ways, it's anytime Google kind of takes a look at your site, it's a set amount of time that it's going to take before you see an impact. It's just unfortunate for something as complicated as Penguin and Panda less so nowadays, but at least with Penguin it takes a chunk of time for them to analyze everything. So yeah, Yeah, we're waiting.
Yeah. All right. Question 6 on your run list is not really a question, but I'd like to ask you guys if you took the SEO expert quiz on moz.com, which appeared last night. I'd like to know how you did, because I did it and only got 74%, which was, a little bit demoralising. Anybody else try that quiz?
Yeah.
What was your score, Micah?
86%.
Damn it.
I hate those types of quizzes. Is it A? Is it B? Is it A and B? Is it not A and B? Is it all the above? Wait, what? Yeah.
All right, well, we'll pass on that one, and we'll move on to James Hancock's question, number 7. Is it worth paying $299 US dollars and submitting a website to the Yahoo Directory for the link /SEO benefit?
I'd pass. Unless there may be a niche situation for it, but spend time on some other stuff.
It's not just a $250 fee either, is it? It's $250 a year.
Yeah, it's $250 a year or whatever the number is. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I wouldn't bother. There's plenty of places to get links from that you don't have to pay for, that are still good quality and probably more relevant to your website and business than a paid directory listing.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Okay, Pablo, I can't read it on my run list, but it might be Camo or Capo. He says, what are your thoughts about what is better for SEO on Google+? +1 or share?
I would go with share.
Anybody else? Okay. All right.
Well, if he's referring to Search Plus Your World, I think authorship markup is also important.
Well, that's true, because nobody has demonstrated any ranking benefits from Google Plus. So, what is the SEO input?
For Search Plus Your World, it's more likely that you get the authorship markup or rich snippet if you're following the guys. So.
I say share only because I think that completely ignoring the possible benefits of ranking boosts. The point of social related stuff, right, is to get your content to spread. And I think someone sharing your content and seeing your content in its entirety reshared into their stream has more impact in terms of getting your content spread and putting it in front of people than a +1. So if there was ever going to be a benefit of potentially that content spreading even further past first person, having your entire post shared, potentially with a great photo and descriptions and things like that, is bound to have more reach, or to help facilitate that chain of sharing than just a +1. And that, that might lead to more traffic to your website. Maybe more people might subsequently write about your content and link to you. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, that's why I would say share, not just a +1.
Yes, yeah, but that's not within search engines, is it? It's more within the social media itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, go on. Go ahead, Master Taki. Sorry to interrupt.
No, no problem. I missed the sort of first bit because I had to drop off for a few seconds. Generally speaking, I think share is better, and if you are using personalized search, then both +1s and shares do matter. If something's shared by someone in your social connections, then that's likelier to appear in your personalized search results. I'm not so sure about the relative value between the two, +1 and the share, but for the reasons that everyone else has mentioned, share I think is a better one, and in a sense that it shows more engagement with the web page or the things that's shared than a +1. People can just +1 of something by pressing a button, whereas sharing is actually a bit more than that, if you see what I mean. But in terms of direct, organic, non-personalized search results, I don't think it really matters that much.
Okay. I see Richard Hearn has just joined us. Richard is a conversion rate optimization specialist who can be found at redcardinal.ie. Here's a question from Erin Mackay, as she's worried about not being indexed after 2 hours. I've been waiting 2 years. Anyway, Erin says, is Google taking longer to index blog posts now for some reason? I used to get posts indexed within minutes. It's been 2 hours now and I still haven't been indexed.
Well, I wouldn't really worry about it after 2 hours. I mean, there's various reasons Google might slow down. If for instance, you've been publishing content less lately, if you've been calling your site every day and you're not putting out content every day, there's no point in them doing that, so they might slow down. And also with news sites, they might crawl it regularly at first, but as they get used to how often you put out content, they might adjust their crawling accordingly. But I really wouldn't be worried after 2 hours.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, if you're, don't have the patience for that, you can always submit the URL for Google to fetch manually. And that's helpful. You could also check to see if on the blog if it's actually doing the right pinging to the various sites. So that's seeing it's actually being submitted to kind of a variety of services to help kind of surface it faster. Those are at least a few things to at least get the ball rolling for those.
All right. Well, what's the political situation like in Thailand, Richard?
I don't know. I think it's just the same as it was before.
That's where you are at the moment, yeah?
It is. I'm in Phuket.
And you're not under house arrest?
No. No. They had a curfew. It was till 10 o'clock, and they've loosened it up, and now people are allowed to stay out till 12. It feels like being a teenager again. It's actually quite good.
I think it's more been affected in Bangkok.
Yeah, a little bit. It doesn't affect. I mean, you go to like everyone. If people come here, the beaches are the same, the food is the same, the people are the same. There's nothing different here or anywhere outside of Bangkok, and even in Bangkok, I don't think it's hugely different. So.
Well,
That's a
offices,
tricky one. Sorry, go ahead, Alison.
some of our offices were closed in Bangkok last week, and some of the staff we've got over there temporarily at the moment, staying in some hotels and stuff. You know, they were told by the hotel managers and concierge and stuff, you know, not to go outside, you know, not to leave the hotel and things like that, because, you know, there's army and whatnot on, you know, in the streets. So I don't think that it's a fantastic environment at the moment, but hopefully it'll improve in the very near future.
Oh no, I would agree. I don't think it's far from ideal, but I don't think it's quite as, like, if you only read the newspapers or listened to the news channels, I think you could start to think that it's horrible here, and it's just not the case. I mean, they've had 13 coups or 12 coups since the 1930, so they sort of know how to do coups here, and there's very rarely any bloodshed or problems. But I'm surprised they were told not to go out. It may have been just immediately after the coup that they were told maybe don't go out. But I'd say now people are sort of. I would be very surprised if they were told not to go out now at this stage.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well,
our office is open this week, so hasn't been closed.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that things are looking up.
Yeah, same.
David Alford asks a question about H1 tags and H1 styles. He says Google weighs H1 tags different than a page's body text. Would the same thing apply to an H1 class? For example, the paragraph text gets the H1 style. Can I use that without fear that Google will interpret it as a headline?
Can he use it? Yes. I don't think he needs to worry. I think he's worrying about something that's very much at the fringe, not going to have any impact at all.
Yeah, I think yes is probably the best answer for that. And if there's nobody else wants to answer to it, all right. These questions are really easy tonight. I'm hoping to see a harder one. Here's one from Benjamin Donor. Benjamin asks, what is the best system for distributing your blogs to multiple locations? E.g. Google, Delicious, LinkedIn, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, etc.
You could try a social media sharing tool, like a Buffer, for instance, does Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Other things like Buzzstream.
Hootsuite.
Hootsuite also does multiple networks. There's a few online tools that do, you know, that you kind of just configure stuff off your RSS feeds, and they'll just sort of automatically push stuff around from, you know, as needed. As you post stuff, they'll distribute them. They're probably the popular ones that I know of.
I think he may also want to consider that he should try and engage on those sites rather than just sort of posting his feed. Might work out better.
Yeah.
Exactly. I tend to mute people that just push stuff at me.
Yeah,
Particularly
that's a grumpy old man.
Well, thank you very much. No, but, I mean, that doesn't annoy you guys too? Like people that just post commercial crap on Google Plus? You know, like, there's a unit available in San Antonio. You know, what the frigging hell would I want to care about a unit in San Antonio? and three posts a day and that sort of stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I don't see a point in that. I mean, I don't use Twitter much anymore, but I still I share stuff into it that I think is just interesting. And people follow me all the time because I post random stuff. It's usually sort of marketing-esque, analytics, SEO-y, conversion rate, usability, I don't know, just generally web stuff that I see that around the web that's interesting. And I just share it when I think it's a good article. And people often favourite stuff.
I follow you, but you won't follow me back.
You know that thing I said before about you being grumpy? Here you go, Jim. I'll fix that for you right now.
As he goes to hit the block button. I mean, the follow button.
Oh, you're not Jim Munro.
And what am I? I think I am. I think I am.
Are you?
Well, I should be, unless I'm. I could be shop safe, or to be honest, I don't know. I'll have a look in a minute. Let me get this question out first. Kim Harrington asks this. She says it's an interesting question about Twitter cards. We'll be the judge of that, Kim. She said, I've launched a new website and want to use Twitter cards. I noticed that when someone shares the homepage, the Twitter card for the page isn't an image I want shared. Someone noted that putting the image I want displayed as the last image on the page with a size of 0 pics is a great way to work around this issue, as Twitter picks up the last image on the page. However, I'm a bit hesitant to hide an image in terms of SEO. Any thoughts on this, or alternatives to fix this issue?
Twitter uses Open Graph, doesn't it? I mean, you can specify Twitter cards.
They have specified Twitter cards. You can try Open Graph, but it doesn't always work as well.
Yeah, I used that the preview thing, and they're reasonably okay with Open Graph as far as I can gather. Sometimes if you have image gallery or something like that, or gallery I think it's called, the Twitter cards. If you have multiple images that you want to show, then you have to specify it in a certain way. But I thought if you have proper Open Graph tags, then that should be fine for most cases.
I'm a bit confused here though, because the Twitter cards markup includes markup for the image that you want shared according to the page that you're sharing. So if one of two things is happening, Twitter is ignoring the Twitter card markup because it's his homepage, and they treat homepages in a special way. But maybe a product page, for instance, they might honor the Twitter card markup, or he has the markup on his page and it's broken, in which case he should validate it to make sure that it's correct, for which Twitter provide a validator for their various markups as well, which you can find on their site. Or have I missed something entirely?
I don't know. Kim lost me when she said Twitter cards.
For those that aren't aware, Twitter cards are basically special sharing units that you can configure on your site, and instead of someone coming to your site and you sharing just the headline or the H1 tag and a link into Twitter, if you came to a page that was selling a pair of yellow Nike running shoes, what gets shared into Twitter is like a little rich card that includes a photo and descriptions, and if it was an e-commerce site, it could include pricing data and buttons like call to actions to go and purchase, you know, that red or yellow Nike running shoe, for instance. They have photo cards. They've got photo gallery cards. They've got cards for apps. They've got cards for a whole gamut of things. I reckon it's one of the most underused features kicking around, because seeing a Twitter card into a Twitter stream, they look great. I can't imagine that they don't get clicked on and shared more than a plain text link.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. Thank you, guys. I love these Hangouts, I really do. Every week, never a week goes by when I don't learn something new. Actually, never a week goes by I don't forget something else from the previous week either, but anyway, we'll just push on regardless. Here we are. Jonathan Cross asks us, he wants to change domain. What is the best way for me to move that content over? He says, I have some good blog content that is hosted on a domain that I want to move over to another blog on a different new domain. The old domain has many poor quality links coming into it. If I move some content from the old domain to the new domain and give it a 301 redirect, will Google look at the bad links coming in as links to the new domain? That is assuming that there are some bad links coming into those pages that I want to move. Or is there a better way for me to move that content over? Thanks for any help you can give me.
Yeah, this is an easy one. 301 redirects pass all of the good and the bad. So if he does have bad links coming into those articles that he's about to 301 redirect, in due course Google is going to think that those bad links are pointing to his new domain. What he could do, if he wants to 301 the link though, is he could go and do a little bit of a link cleanup on some of those, you know, get rid of some of the worst offenders, so that the link profile for the URLs he wants to redirect isn't quite so ugly, and then redirect them. That's really his only option. Otherwise, the 301 is going to transfer all of those bad links with it.
Yep.
One other thing that he could do, that comes to mind, because I've sort of looked at this situation a couple of times. If he audits his site, he may find that some pages don't have bad links pointing at them, while others do. And what he could do is he could granularly redirect URLs from the old domain to the new domain, where he's fairly sure that the links going to a particular URL are clean. And then what I would say is, with the other pages, I would just 302 them.
So
it often happens. What happens is that, like, let's say on a blog, he probably pointed some bad links, but he probably didn't point those bad links at post pages. He probably tried to point most of those bad links at money pages. Not necessarily, but that would be what I would imagine. So he may be able to actually resurrect or keep some of the good links that are going to his site and filter out the old ones just by not redirecting them.
So the only thing to say about that could be possibly risky is Google have said that in the past, if they see a 302 redirect, so a temporary redirect, in place for a period of time, they'll treat it as a 301. So that would be the only possible downside. Then you end up in the scenario where at some point in the future, unspecified time frame, Google just decide that, yep, we're going to kick that mule, and those links are all going to become 301 redirects.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, there's other ways. You could use robots.txt, or you could just no-index the dodgy pages. But the point I'm making though is that there can be some value in trying to redirect some of the links from your old site, rather than just throwing everything out. Which some people would do, some people will do, and some people might have to do. But it's painful. It's a pity that you want to reuse the content, because if you had wholly new content on the new domain, you might get away with redirecting. But if you're reusing the old content, chances are they're not going to like it, because that's definitely one of the things that they look for in terms of spammers. And that's also, by the way, probably how they offset some negative SEO. If you just redirect a load of links from other content to different content, they probably just ignore them altogether. If that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, so I think that pretty well covers it for Jonathan. Any objections to moving on? I'll take that as an okay. I've got one here from Eamon Tandon. It's question 14 on your run list. I think he's asking for the impossible, but he says, is there anything like, say, a WordPress plugin or anything that could shift all the ranking and backlinks? He said, hi, I have a website named hackbook.biz on Blogger. Now, I am thinking to move it over to WordPress and also to a different domain, like thehackbook.com. Now, is there anything like, as he said originally, like a WordPress plugin or something that just shifted all for him automatically? I don't think there is there?
There's two things that he can possibly do. The first one, I'm not sure whether he can still do it, but it was possible. Now, it's years since I've done it. Blogger has a way, and it's to do with using custom domains in Blogger, that you can actually redirect your site to a different domain. So if that was feasible, potentially he could do that. The other thing he could do is he could stop pointing his domain at Blogger, point it at hosting, and under that hosting set up redirects to his new domain. Not trivial to do, by the way. It doesn't sound like, to me, if he's asking this question, he probably won't be able to do this on his own. But basically, he just points his old domain somewhere, and on that server he sets up all the redirects to his new domain, and that should pass most of the signals that he has currently.
So he's using the custom domains currently on Blogger, so he's good to go. He can set up his new. Oh, hang on, he can't put on two domains within WordPress.com. So okay, so he should do what Richard said. He should go and get some cheap hosting. $5 a month, cheap and nastiest as you can get, basically. That supports Apache and mod rewrite. Move his hackbook.biz domain and point that to the cheap, nasty hosting. Use that hosting to set up the 301 redirects, and that's the only thing that it does. And then push all of those 301 redirects to thehackbook.com, posted on WordPress.com, and happy days.
Probably the sort of thing he could. Oh, sorry, go on.
I don't think he has to do a 301 at all. You can make your own permalinks on WordPress, no? So you can just use the same URLs. And
he wants to move domain, though. He wants to move domain.
Yeah. I still would use the other domain. I don't know why you would use the hackbook instead of hackbook. But
well, he's going from .biz to .com.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So, yeah, it's probably a little bit better even with it there on .com than it would be saying on the .biz.
Yes.
It's a type of job, by the way, if he just goes to a freelancer site and he just says, if he explains what he wants to do, it's probably like a $40 or $50 job to get someone to do it for you, and that's simple. Probably less, to be honest. But you pay for you get what you pay for.
Yeah. All right. So, Amon, I think you should take that advice and follow it. Mashed Akil asks, has Microsoft abandoned the IIS SEO Toolkit? He said, I bought a new PC with the latest Windows 8.1 version and I cannot find a way to install the plugin. Has Microsoft abandoned the IIS SEO Toolkit?
So Mashed actually ended up answering this question on the community. He said that you can't use the web platform installer to install it anymore. So you need to go and download the toolkit yourself, physically download it, install IIS on Windows 8, and then go and actually run the installer for the SEO Toolkit, as opposed to using the web platform installer.
I hope Microsoft doesn't drop that, because it is a gem of a tool.
The IIS SEO Toolkit?
They haven't done anything with it for years, have they?
It hasn't changed for a long time.
No, I think it's an amazing tool. I think that it is the most under-recognized tool in the market for SEO. It is literally my go-to crawler, and you can pound stuff with it. It's great.
Totally agree. Totally agree. All right. Now we have a question from Nathan Green. Nathan asks, what are your methods to obtain G+ shares organically? He goes on to say, I know that people will +1 all the time, but sharing seems different. He said, this is a great community, by the way. He's obviously a very astute person, Nathan Green. So let's find him a good answer.
Well, you can't make people share, right? They're only going to share if they find value in the content that you're putting forward. So I suppose the simplest answer to this is, for whatever community that you, and I don't mean that as in Google Plus community, but internet community, so to speak, that you work in, you need to be amazing and deliver the type of content that people in your target audience love and they want to share, because for your audience it's amazing content. People won't share crap shit content, and it certainly won't get spread through 2 and 3 and 4 degrees, 5 degrees of separation from you to 5 people away from you. Crap content just doesn't have that reach. So you need to be producing great content that's relevant to your audience.
Yeah, and no, Mr. Yonk, kittens. What white kittens with blue eyes maybe. I sometimes share something funny, but I don't go looking for something every day. And if nothing comes up for a week, I don't share anything. But if something literally makes me laugh out loud, that's my criteria for its value. So if something literally makes me laugh out loud, I'll reshare that, and usually get 1 or 2 shares out of it, because obviously it's made somebody else laugh too. But no, I swear to God, I've never shared a cat. Never ever. Okay. Niraj Kumar, who's asked some great questions from us in the past, looks like here's another. He said, in case of managing a multi-author blog, do the authors need to put the blog URL in contributor to, or the links of only their articles? I'm not sure what he means there. He said, I don't know why, but the articles without authorship show the profile links of other authors in Google search engine results pages who have added the whole blog in their contributor to sections. Sorry for the bad read, guys. I just can't pick up on what he means. Any of you make sense of it?
I suppose he means whether the contributor to section should list the blog domain or individual articles. That's how I understood the question. In that case, it is the domain. So, not the individual pages that you list under contributor to section. It's the domain. And for the mix-up of profiles listed as the author, I think on-page reference back to a Google Plus profile would be the strongest possible signal that you can send to say this is the person who's actually authored this piece, this post. If you have, for example, a widget or a column on a page that lists all the authors who contribute to that blog, then Google may assume the author and then mistakenly assigns someone else as the author of that piece.
Because it hasn't been explicitly set to the right
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
So if it says, if it says on page that, either in the head section or in the body, that's, referring back to, there's a rel author back to a Google Plus profile, then I think that's a very strong signal. But if that's lacking, and if it's not verified by email, so the byline doesn't work, but you have list of authors on a site, for example, then that's going to confuse Google and just guess.
Not really relevant to this question, well, only generally related to this question, but in that Moz SEO quiz, there was a question about authorship, the benefits of authorship, and one of the stated benefits for Moz was that it will get you shared in depth. Oh no, it might have been an application of schema. I'm not sure. I'll have to. No, look, Jim is lying. Thanks very much, Edwin. Look, I'll find the article and I'll bring it up later. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Well, have we covered Niraj's question? I'll take that as a yes. Charu Rastogi asks, if a website has good traffic, domain authority, and Alexa rank, but the page rank is 0, is this site worth creating backlinks for or not?
So I wouldn't worry about PageRank in general. It's generally outdated. I probably wouldn't even care about Alexa rank, to be honest. So I mean, really, if it's got a lot of great traffic and it's relevant to you, then a lot of the other metrics really don't even matter, because that the traffic helps to convert. Then it'd be worth getting yourself onto their network. So that would be kind of one of the things I would be suggesting about. But yeah, so for the most part, I wouldn't really be focused on it. And it could also be a new site. So just because it's 0 doesn't necessarily mean that the information is relevant it may not be relevant to kind of what you're looking for, even if it was relatively recently updated. If it's good traffic, it's good traffic. Something to take advantage of for your business from a marketing standpoint. Not just not only be focused purely on say a pure SEO site.
How did you find that cat, Edwin Young?
Well, I did a search, Jim Monroe kittens, and
Okay. All right, Charu Restagi, I hope that's the answer you're looking for. Here's a question from Raman Marotra, a question about a sitemap for a WordPress site. Now, we attempted to cover this last week, but we didn't cover it completely. He came back, and anyway, he's re-asked it. So let's give Ramon a solid answer. He also asked for a consultant to look at his site, and I recommended Tony McCreath. He said, sitemap question. Hi team. When submitting a Yoast XML sitemap from a WordPress website, there are sitemap options like page, posts, media attachments, taxonomy tags, categories, etc. I understand that most important is to choose page and posts, but what about media attachments, taxonomy tags, and categories? Also, which other options should we look at in the sitemap XML setup? Still looking for the answer. Wrong submission, or can a wrong submission cause a problem?
Media attachments, if it's images or video, could be useful. Taxonomy tags / categories. I'm kind of generally of the view that tags and categories, you really don't need both. It's going to create duplicate or low quality type content. Choose one, make it to the point, and then submit it. But otherwise, those kind of tags and categories, I think, generally aren't very useful, and I wouldn't add them in there. And but is it going to be extremely harmful? Probably not in any way, because if you're already linking to them on your site, then having them submitted into an XML sitemap for kind of a smaller base site, I don't see that being any type of issue. Other things to consider, kind of, let's see, what other else type of things would you want to be sure to be submitting? If you have your other general, let's see if you got pages and posts. I think that's going to pretty much cover most of what you want from a blog site. But if it is a website versus a web blog, then you want to make sure anything that's outside your WordPress template, your main site, for example, that's not a post. Just general kind of what kind of website pages might be valuable to make sure you're submitting into kind of a sitemap as well. Making sure that it is consistently updated. So those are kind of things you want to look at. But most of the other options, I don't think are going to be of use.
I'm going to make one point here, just jumping in. I think I was here last week when this was discussed, but I think that the person who's posing this question might be wasting a little bit of their time here, because the benefit from any of this is very marginal. I mean, a website with no XML sitemap can be perfectly indexed. Indeed, there'd be some people who might actually say that if your site isn't indexed perfectly without an XML sitemap, there's probably something wrong with it. So rather than maybe obsessing over what to include, what not to include, you know, how to do it this way or that way, maybe their time would be better spent looking at their content or building something new rather than looking at XML sitemaps.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll agree with Richard on that.
And adding no index pages to a sitemap, that doesn't hurt, does it?
What was that?
Well, Yoast no indexed a couple of pages. If you check it, for example, if you check the text page, wait, that's somewhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't. Generally speaking, it's not going to do any harm, I don't think. It depends on what you know index, but I know that it does. If no index is stuff that might be considered duplicate, because WordPress, as was mentioned earlier, it makes posts and pages for things like media. And there may be certain things you want to know. It's not going to do you any harm unless you know index your home page or your category, potentially your category pages, but otherwise I wouldn't worry.
And it doesn't harm you if you add those URLs in a sitemap, does it?
It doesn't. It can't harm you.
Best practice, but it doesn't harm.
No, it's not going to harm you, I don't think. Google might complain in Webmaster Tools or something. Might go, oh, you're including URLs in your sitemap that are no index, but I wouldn't worry too much. Let them complain.
Yeah. Bing side does care, but yeah, not for Google.
Okay. Anybody else? We have another question from Lucas Regola. Mobile version of the page in SEO is the title. He said, I'm doing a huge on-site job for one of my clients and have noticed that he is also indexing the m.domain.com version of his site. The domain.com and the m.domain.com are the same content. It looks like a duplicate content issue to me. If on desktop search, Google can index and show it in search results. What do you think, guys? How do you solve this? By de-indexing m.domain.com from desktop search is the question?
No, definitely not. You tell Google that this is for your mobile site and you keep both indexed. You don't de-index one, otherwise you're going to lose all your mobile search.
Yeah, he said he found in there as well in the comment that he should use rel alternate and rel canonical to make it work.
So there's another cautionary tale in here as well. Just so people are aware, Google have also said that let's just say that Lucas implements rel alternate tags, which basically means on his desktop site he links on each page he links to the equivalent m.url with a rel alternate tag, and then on the mobile URL he goes rel canonical back to the corresponding desktop page. What you don't want to do in that scenario is also add a meta no index to the mobile site, because Google have said that that can send them conflicting messages and they could end up no indexing the URL that the canonical tag points to. So in this instance, the canonical tag is pointing back to the desktop URL. So if on the mobile site he has rel canonical back to the desktop URL, and on the mobile site a meta no index, that it could end up meta no indexing the desktop URL because that's where the canonical tag points to. Just as a cautionary thing.
I wonder if we'll see that in negative SEO offerings soon. Okay. All right.
I've got a bolt.
Okay, Alistair, thank you very much for your help tonight.
It's okay. I'll see you all during the week.
Okay, mate. Right. Well, look, it looks like we've done it for yet another week. We've covered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Now we move on to our news roundup, put together mainly by Edwin Yonk. We have an SEO news community. We place items of interest that crop up through the week there. And in the latter part of our Dumb SEO Questions Hangout on Air, we cover them right now. This one is an article from, well, actually, it wasn't actually from Jenny Halaz, but it was an article about a lawyer suing an SEO firm for using undisclosed tactics that tanked the lawyer's site. And Jenny Halaz put forward a good argument in the comments on the article, and that's why I shared it to our news community. Jenny said there's been a disturbing trend of blame the SEO for anything that goes wrong with the site. Thinking back, even Google blamed its advertising company for the penalty imposed on Chrome. Violating Google's guidelines is not a good idea, but it's not illegal. To me, if both parties didn't agree on being within Google's guidelines, you shouldn't complain about it. Comments, guys?
I'm just reading through it right now.
I think this all comes down to contractual terms, doesn't it, really? You know, I mean, it depends on what the contract said, you know, what they agreed to do and what they potentially agreed not to do. It's funny. Go on.
Sorry. I don't think it's about breach of contract. It's I think they're suing on grounds of fraud.
I don't know. I think though that fraud would be some sort of misrepresentation. So again, as I say, that sort of comes back to what the terms of the contract are. I mean, it depends what the deliverables were. I think they might have a very hard time to actually fight a court case around this because of the technicalities of what they're claiming, and you know, what experts are they going to get to go on the stand and say, oh, that was fraudulent, or that was. It seems to me very grey. I don't know how. I can't see this one ever panning out in court, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought it'd be far easier to sue on breach of contract rather than making a fraud case.
For instance, just as an example, so let's say you approach me and you say, well, we want more traffic to our website. We want to get a higher ranking in Google. And I say, yes, of course, I can get all this for you. And I do achieve a higher ranking in Google, and I do achieve more traffic for your website. And 6 months later, Google subsequently penalizes your website. It's quite an interesting distinction there. Well, I've achieved what I said I'm going to achieve, but there was a negative impact at a later point. Have I acted fraudulently? I don't know. It's quite difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny. I'm looking at I just mentioned that at the moment I'm just sending an invoice to a client, and I'm looking at the contracts, and they're a very big company, but they actually have specific conditions in their terms of service related to suppliers, which relate to online marketing and what you are and aren't allowed to do. And it's just funny that this stuff is covered in here in what I'm looking at, but it would be very, very difficult to go to a court of law and to battle over what is and what is not fraudulent or good, bad, or indifferent. That would be my view. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more extreme than usual cases. I think it depends on what the term of the contract was, but I thought that would be the easier route to go ahead and say, look, the company didn't do what it promised to do, and companies shouldn't promise to do things that they can't promise.
The reality. No, you were fine, Mr. Tucky. But I mean, the reality is that clients generally don't want to be bothered with what is done. They just want to see that they're more interested in the result tomorrow, without realizing that the result tomorrow might be the thing that tanks them for years. But generally, they're pushing the SEO for a result, and beware of wishing for things because you might just get them.
Yeah, and I would have thought that good SEOs won't promise things that can't be delivered. I mean, it's simple as that. If you're being asked to do the impossible, then you'd say that's not possible.
And you don't want to make everything a legal issue, right? Jenny put it nicely in the comments. If SEOs have to start documenting everything that we do just for the fear of someone claiming we did something we didn't, or that they didn't know we did something that they approved, prices are going up. So.
Yeah, and don't agree to do SEO on lawyer sites.
No, but there has to be some form of trust between you and the client.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of about setting the expectations, what's possible, what's not possible, what you're going to do. At the same time, if someone wants results, then they would say so. And if you promise to do something you can deliver, I mean, you dug yourself a big hole.
I'm just thinking, what a mind-numbingly horrible thing it would be to get a contract doing SEO for lawyers, because it's just so competitive. And it just dawned on me. I've got 3 clients that are lawyers, but none of those, they're not so much interested in SEO. They're more interested in having a business card on the web. I think that's a lot more fun than. I mean, it would just kill me to try and compete with 10 other lawyers for the same keyword. I think that is that the sort of thing that you guys have been snagged into from time to time, or not?
I've avoided all legal people, to be dead honest. It's just been easier. I've had a few run-ins now, well, not run-ins with the legal people, but I've had it now. It's going back. Thankfully, I keep my nose a little bit cleaner, but I have been threatened a couple of times to be sued. But they tend to be by people who are very bad. But another, just to throw into the mix on this one though again. So imagine 4 years ago, a lawyer has come to me and said, yeah, I'd like you to do SEO. And I do SEO as it is understood 4 years ago. and subsequently some of the tactics I use, Google decides they no longer like, even though they like it 4 years ago, and they get a penalty. Now, am I liable for that based on what I did 4 years ago, or you see, it's so cloudy. I don't see this ever going to court. I mean, a lawyer might be able to argue it in some way and pull the wool over a judge's eyes, but I think it would be very, very difficult for someone to prove fraud.
That's right. And I mean, Matt Cutts probably 4 years ago said a good way to get links is to write articles and post them on other blogs.
Mm. I'm sure they said guest blogging was good a few years back. I'm quite sure they said that guest blogging was quite a good idea if you have expertise and you can go and guest blog on websites in your industry and show off your expertise. And then everyone went hell for leather on it, and yeah, well, guest posts aren't exactly popular these days.
Or the old duplicate content doesn't matter type thing.
Well, I think they've always said it doesn't matter unless you're scraping.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, no, I mean, just in general, you don't even have to be scraping for that to matter. So it's just kind of...
Speaking of duplicate content, did anyone see Tim Capper's article? Or he posted on Google Plus this today or yesterday or last night regarding cnet.co.uk?
I recall I did. I didn't get a chance to relook at that.
What was it about?
Well, cnet.co.uk has taken a real thumping. What they were doing was taking all of their US articles and duplicating them onto cnet.co.uk. They've lost about 80% of their traffic.
Well, actually, they are doing quite weird redirects back to the .com site.
Oh, that's right. I remember you mentioning that. That was funny. It was like how many steps? How many like redirect steps? Like 5 or 6?
I think no, 6 or 7.
Oh man.
Oh, here's the link.
I wonder if that's intentional, given that Google said they won't follow that many redirects.
Probably not.
I doubt it. It's probably just antiquated systems.
It's a real challenge, though. If you work with international sites like that, it's a huge challenge to figure out. Well, how do we publish our content? You know, I mean, they have these articles maybe. Now, I haven't looked at this, but let's just say they have these articles that are written in the States, that are good articles, and they republish them on their UK domain. Is that bad?
That's where the multi. That's where the lane comes in for the tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying it's dupe, but hey, this is specifically for this country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that I've struggled with for a long time. I mean, and I still get asked about this sometimes. You know, for instance, we're a UK site and we want to go into the US and we're content driven. You know, we have lots of relevant. A lot of our content isn't UK focused. It's on a generic niche. Let's say, for instance, a good example: weddings. They write about weddings. The content, they're getting traffic from all over the world, but they want to republish some of this content for country sites. How do they do it? It's quite a tricky one, you know, especially if you republish content that is yours on another domain, you can suddenly have problems with Google. I would say in the CNET case, there's probably more than meets the eye.
How would you handle that scenario with a cross-domain canonical, I guess?
Well, but that's difficult as well, because then you get into a situation where, well, you want to get traffic in both countries. Do you want to canonicalize it, or do you want to use hreflang? Well, it's very tricky. There's no strict guidelines on this. You'll probably, if you ask someone in Google, they'll probably say, well, we prefer if you wrote, you know, unique content for both sites, but it doesn't really make sense. So, you know, you can use canonical. but I don't know whether that's going to be ideal. I mean, they did start to say don't use canonical and hreflang, because it's too complex and people were making a lot of mistakes around it. So it's a tricky one.
Would Googlebot regard hreflang as useful if you were just differentiating between n.US or n.UK?
Well, they should do. Well, I mean, the whole idea here is that what it's meant to do is it's meant to therefore, if someone in the UK is searching for that for some phrase and the US article would rank for it, it will show them the UK version instead. I mean, it's meant to. That's what it's meant to do. And so you would assume that should be okay. As I say, I would imagine, my guess is that with something like CNET, you'll probably find if you dig around, there may be more than meets the eye in terms of what they were doing or why they lost traffic. I mean, it could also be the CNET thing. Could be if they're doing some weird, funky thing with 6 or 7 redirects. That might be the reason they lost their traffic. It could be a technical problem as opposed to anything to do with Panda or any other algorithm. I don't know. I mean, they're a huge site, but I mean, there's all these global publishers like that. I mean, you know, often just the one that comes nearly to mind always is when I'm thinking about this is large travel site. I wish Alistair was still here. He'd tell me straight away. The review one, the big travel review. TripAdvisor. They use. I think it's TripAdvisor. They use multiple CCTLDs, and they used to they'd get multiple there'd be maybe 3 of their sites ranking in the top 10 for the same term. So it's tricky when you get to that scale. You have to remember as well that some of the decisions big sites make, they're not for SEO at all. They're business decisions. They'll say, yeah, you've got to publish that in the UK as well. It makes sense to have it there. So it's never black and white.
All right. Here's another one. Ideally, what I'd like to do is have a beer with Dan Petrovic over an hour or two and go through this slide deck. But anyway, I posted this in our news items. It was the slide deck he shared on with SMX in Sydney, 200 slides, and I think what we'd probably discuss about it is just how deeply Dan goes into things, how the degree to which he analyzes things and brings clarity to a very complex subject. Comments, guys?
The only thing that I saw that I noticed that I thought was interesting was how tired he looked. I'd say he put a hell of a lot of work into what he did. I'm sure he works very hard all the time, and I think he's obviously reaping the outcomes of all that hard work as well. So well done to him.
Well, actually, to be fair, the tiredness wouldn't have come from doing the slide deck, because that's the same slide deck that he presented to SMX in Munich about a few weeks ago.
No, he must have been out partying all night then. I wonder, is his wife watching now?
Dan doesn't drink, but what he did do was fly to Malaysia for a day 2 days ago.
Ah. Malaysia's nice.
As long as you don't get the cane. Yeah, so I'll see what I can. I'll sound down out, because I think that would make a great hangout, and also it'd be cheaper than paying the fee to visit SMX in Sydney. Another article we have posted here is from Edwin Yonk. Or no, Edwin posted it. It was a share of Tim Kappa's article, the evolution of Google's knowledge info panel. Actually, Edwin, you posted this. Would you like to talk on it?
Sure. Basically, it's an history about the knowledge panel.
Just before you go on, Edwin, thanks, Richard. Thanks very much for your contribution and input tonight.
Yeah, guys, it was good to see you. Sorry I have to jump off. I am traveling, so maybe I hope to see you again next week.
Oh, it would be great. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there were two. I think Matsutake is grabbing a coffee as well. So, Edwin, you're going to have to talk on this one.
Oh, I was hoping Tim would join, but sadly
He's in London.
He's at a conference, a search conference in London, and he's going to try and hook up from there if he can get some bandwidth. So, although if he hasn't joined us by now, he probably won't be joining. But anyway, that's the plan.
Isn't it a holiday in the UK? Yeah.
Every day's a holiday in the UK.
It rains too much for that, Jim.
Okay, back to the post from Tim Kappa.
Basically, it's a history about the knowledge info panel and how it looks. He starts off at, let me see, it's got the first day, in 2012. And basically, Google is adding more and more things in that knowledge panel.
Okay, so there's not much to say except that it's great that Tim goes to the trouble to document these things. Otherwise, lazy people like me would never know what was going on.
I think he had another article about the knowledge panel, didn't he? Ah, okay.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the other one here, which is a post from Google, and the comments on it were it sounds, or Edwin's comments were, it sounds like an anti-spam measure. Some JavaScript removes content from the page rather than adding, which prevents us from indexing the content. Edwin, I'll pass this one on to you.
Yeah, basically, Google understands JavaScript more and more, and although they say that they execute JavaScript, they're not really executing. They sending requests and take a look at the HTML they receive. So not everything will be perfectly indexed by Google. Well, they have more options now. That's basically the update from Google. And what caught my eye was the sentence that they can also see if something is removed through JavaScript. And that sounds like an anti-spam measure where people try to hide content.
It does, doesn't it? Just to point out, too, if you're watching this and want to see these links, you can see them on the news roundup page on dumbseoquestions.com and also on the SEO news community on Google+. Have we covered this one, Edwin? Move on from this one to the next?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. This is a post from Edwin, not really news, but a good review, a book review of Google Semantic Search by David Amerland. Over to you, mate.
Okay. Well, I didn't read David's book. I probably should have ordered it now, but that's my bad. This is a webmaster that has a small business, and he used the things from the semantic search book to his own website, and he was successful with that. I'm scanning the article.
The thing I like about David's book is that I think every chapter, but if not every chapter, certainly almost every chapter, has a set of calls to action, like a summary, like an action plan. It helps you focus your thoughts and gives you insights that didn't even dawn on you when you're actually reading the chapter, or at least it's that way for me.
Yeah, and the review does say that search is much more than just the links, than just PageRank. The focus is more on big data and the information that Google has about the person that does the search, and how you can make that experience better by connecting to Google+, being more social, giving the right local information, and all those things. Did you get the same experience from the book, or?
I found the book heavy going because I'm not all that clued up, but I forced myself to read my way through it, and now I'm reading through it again. So on the second read, I'm getting so much more from it. It's, if I can put it this way, what David has written is what Google should do, not necessarily what Google has done. It's well, maybe should do is the wrong word. Will do, but hasn't done yet. Is probably a better way of describing it. It's a brilliant book, and I've probably over the last 60 days, I've picked it up 60 times.
And the reviewer says that there are the three main factors that David talks about are trust, authority, and reputation.
And that's true. All right, I think we can move on from this one. And yes. Our next, okay, this is very interesting. This was the article on eBay with a 78% drop in traffic. I haven't seen anything like this in my life. It was a great article from Barry Schwartz. And in the article, he was saying, what was it, algorithmic or manual, or does it matter? And in the article, he says, well, of course it matters, because it by determining that, determines the course of action for recovery. But what can you see eBay bouncing back from this, Edwin? And I just add that I'm not sure if this is a great move by Google, because I really don't mind finding eBay results in search. They're usually useful. I don't think I've ever seen a spam. I don't think they're spammy.
Well, sometimes it's a little bit cluttered with eBay results. Here in the Netherlands, we have Marktplaats.nl, which is owned by eBay. Yeah. If it's good for the searchers or not, that's always a difficult question, isn't it?
Well, that's true, and given I see Google released the results of the diversity of their programming team today or yesterday. Another article, good article from Barry Schwartz. But 78% of Google's team is white male, you've got one very narrow demographic making decisions on the search results for a whole group of people. I mean, admittedly, they have their reviewers and so on, but of course the reviewers would tend to learn how to give the answers that Google wants to get. So that's not necessarily a great plan either. But anyways, I mean, I know that
they do a lot of real-time testing to see if the new algorithm or the little changes is improving or not. So I don't know what the drop in eBay has to do with the white men.
You don't know what? Well, we're talking about me liking eBay results in search.
No, I don't understand that part.
Well, the point, the segue I was trying to or the parallel I was trying to join or to draw was that maybe the demographic of white male, 32 years old, doesn't like to see Google results in search. I mean, it's true that, we've got one company here in Australia, getprice.com.au, that are just absolutely appalling. They will do anything to get a listing, list products they don't have, and yeah, they're spammy. But they still got a good run in Google. I don't know why they haven't picked them up on it. But eBay, on the other hand, for me, generally I find a result that I want from there. I may not necessarily want a new product. So is the fact that they are dominating search necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. I have to ask those 78% of white males, I guess.
Yeah, the
you
eBay use.
Group.
Go ahead, one of you anyway.
Sorry, no, I said both of you would fall into that group.
Yeah.
78%. Well, not necessarily, because it's white male age 32. I think for that. I don't know about Edwin, but I'm a little bit past 32.
Anyway, I interrupted Edwin, so.
No, go ahead. So what do you think about the drop of eBay? Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I don't have much of an opinion. It'd be interesting to know why it happened.
Yeah, true. I think people focus too much on eBay now. I think on Moz it was just a more like a lucky hunch than it had anything to do with the data he collected. But I don't know if eBay is the biggest loser or.
You know, it'd be interesting to compare, for example, what happened to Amazon in terms of, you know, same company occupying quite a lot of space on results page. Amazon sometimes do the same. You know, Amazon does the same thing at times. You know, it happens with eBay at times. It happens with Amazon at times. I think it sometimes even happens with Gumtree, for example. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether that's a factor or whether it's a very specific thing to eBay. I don't know enough. I haven't been interested enough to dig deeper into it.
And is any guidance from Google talking about Panda 4.0? They probably point to an article with the 12 questions from 2 years ago. And it would be interesting or more fun if Google would be a little bit more transparent and say, well, with this update, we try to do this more or whatever. They don't give much guidance, do they?
No, and they don't want to talk specifics about specific sites, I think.
No. Tim was looking at the news sites. He also did. He also looked at Daily Mail. I don't know if the news sites were targeted or the auction sites. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I think I think the point about people sort of concentrating too much to the, you know, verging towards obsessing about eBay is a good point.
Sorry for my quietness. I'm looking on SEMrush for the winners and losers to see if I can see anything worth reporting.
Well, I'm on SEMrush too, and the Dutch eBay is just a flat line. No drops at all. So
what's been affected? Is it eBay.com and that's all?
Yeah, and according to the reviewgeeks.com, it was especially the subdomain or subdirectory. The subdirectory BHP that was impacted. Here's the link, Jim.
Right.
You can also search for subdirectories on SEMrush. Do you know that?
Run that past me again.
If you can look at only a subdirectory in SEMrush.
No, I don't know the answer to that.
No. Oh, it's redirecting to ebay.com.
Amazon.com you were asking about before, Master Taki, it looks like they've been net winners. Oh no. Well, they certainly don't seem to have gone down anyway. They seem to be pretty well static.
According to Search Engine Land, X.com was a loser, eBay, biography.com, retailmenot.com, never heard of that, history.com, yellowpages.com, and the winners, glassdoor.com, emedicinehealth.com, shopstyle.com, BuzzFeed.com.
Well,
so that doesn't say much, does it?
no. All right, let's move on from that. Let's look at Michael Fisher-Kirshner's article, Don't Trust ComScore's Search Engine Market Share. He wanted to discuss this because, basically because ComScore shows a pie chart which shows Google as having 67% of search, Bing with 18%, Yahoo with 11%, and others with 4%. And in the article it was noted that this doesn't match anybody's actual results. Of course, Google's share is far greater than that. But I think the obvious answer to that is because everybody who would be reading this article optimizes for Google. And so obviously Google's going to be higher. Because
no,
go on. Is this one of those cases where I'm wrong again?
I think ComScore includes the internal searches by Microsoft itself. So from a Microsoft property to a Microsoft property.
But they've only got about 30,000 employees. How's that going to make a difference?
Well, I'm scanning the article to see what his conclusion was. Or do you already know the conclusion?
No.
Well, it hinges on that methodology used by ComScore, and the author says, to quote, "As I understand it, ComScore's methodology for calculating search engine market share involves including all entity sites in traffic calculations. That means that searches at all of the web properties owned by Microsoft or Yahoo, not just the search engines, get bundled into the results." End quote. So does that mean that people conducting search from the Yahoo portal, for example?
I think so. I think it is from Yahoo.com when they go to a sub directory or subdomain to a Yahoo property, because Yahoo makes content.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure whether they're saying. I'm not 100% sure what that distinction is. Whether by search engines they mean the search engine standalone, you know, people going to Bing.com instead of going to MSN.com, which is a portal site with the Bing search engine at the top. Because a lot of people still have Yahoo and MSN portals.
Yeah, but Yahoo has some videos, and I think all those searches from video.yahoo.com, not sure about that one, but all those searches from there are included in this in the ComScore records. Well, the searches from YouTube.com aren't. So.
You mean internal searches within?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Makes more sense now.
Yeah, but if you go, let's say I go to, in my case, uk.yahoo.com, you know, which is a Yahoo portal page, you know, to have menu, you know, I could access my Yahoo Mail, I could read the news, sports, catch up on financial results, you know, gawk at celebrity pictures, things like that. And at the top of it, there's a Yahoo search engine.
Yeah, go to screen.yahoo.com.
No, so what I'm interested in is that if you go to, to this Yahoo main portal site and there's a Yahoo search engine at the top, you conduct a search there. That is essentially Bing search, right? Because
yes,
they do the same. Now, should that count or should that not count?
I think that counts, but also searches from portals like these. Well, from YouTube.
But
YouTube
if you have
is excluded. So the YouTube searches are excluded, are not included in Google's favor.
But if you go to Yahoo Screen, there's search the web option. Whereas isn't the YouTube completely internal?
Yeah, but if you search within those videos, I think that counts too.
Yeah.
Well, for Google, only the vertical search for videos is counted, right? Not the searches done on YouTube.
Yeah, it would make sense to exclude searches conducted internally. But if if it is search across web entities, then it does seem to make sense to include them, no?
I see nothing wrong with their methodology. Yeah, I mean, obviously you wouldn't include YouTube in Google's search stats because YouTube's a separate domain. But screen.yahoo.com is it's a subdomain of the main domain. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't say it is wrong, but it doesn't. The YouTube doesn't count towards Google. The videos .google.com, the vertical search engine, that one is counted, but not the searches done on YouTube. So you get skewed results, no?
Well, look, I don't know. Let's say that we'll have to agree to disagree, Edwin.
Sure. Well, I'm not saying that it is wrong.
All right.
But if
I
you want
think-
to know which search engine, you should trust your server logs and not ComScore to begin with.
Yeah, I think that on that we can all agree in that you should look, and I think that's the author's conclusion as well, wasn't it? That you should look into your own stats.
Yes, because I think for the United States it's something like 80% coming from 80% coming from Google. Here in the Netherlands it's somewhere about 95%. So.
Okay. Any objections? Have we reached the end of the week?
I think so.
Okay. Look, for those of you still watching, thank you very much. It's your participation, or at least your being interested enough to watch what we do and what we talk about, that makes what we do worthwhile for us. We'll be back same time next week, and thank you very, very much for your I guess it's participation.